Welcome to the Alchemy for Authors podcast. I'm your host, Jo Buer. If you're an author, aspiring author, writer, or wordsmith, you're in the right place. Join me every week as I chat with authors and industry professionals and share my own experiences about using manifestation and mindset practices to supercharge our writing lives. We'll explore ways to overcome writer's block and imposter syndrome. We'll find motivation and inspiration to get our butts in the chair and our stories written. And most importantly, we'll embark on creating lives and livings doing what we love. If you've ever dreamt of a prolific, wealthy, happy or healthy author career or writing practice, then this show is for you. So let's dive into Alchemy for Authors. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to another episode of Alchemy for Authors. So we are racing towards the end of the year. It's only a couple of weeks till Christmas from when I'm recording this. And despite how crazy busy this time of the year is, in my downtime, when there is downtime, I do like to start thinking a little bit towards the future, towards goal setting for the new year, and reflecting a little bit upon the year that's been. And it's been an interesting one. For myself, 2022 has been a huge improvement on the last couple of the years in most areas of my life. Despite having started a new podcast this year and having still done a heap of writing, I haven't really had as many writing goals as I would have liked this year. So while I've been thinking about what I want to manifest for 2023, I also started thinking about what my top 8 manifestation go-to must-haves are. So I do have 8 kind of tools, I guess, that I rely on heavily when it comes to manifestation and helping create the reality, the life, the writing life that I want for myself. And so that's what I am wanting to share with you today, my top 8 manifestation must-haves. So part of Alchemy for Authors has always been about marrying the nuts and bolts aspects of writing and publishing and craft to mindset and manifestation, to help us supercharge and propel our writing careers in the direction that we want them to go, to hopefully make it easier for ourselves to achieve our goals, to make it more enjoyable, to enjoy the journey more as well. Manifestation, in my definition, is simply creating or bringing something into reality or something into our life that we desire through our beliefs, our feelings, our thoughts, and our actions as well. And I think when a lot of people talk about the law of attraction or manifestation, they often forget about or don't know about that really important aspect of taking action. There is no law of attraction without action. And so that has always been really important to me. I've never believed in the let's just sit back, burn some incense, hold a crystal, visualize what we want to achieve, and voila, there it will be. We have to do the work as well. Manifestation is really quite simple and also incredibly hard at the same time. And so it's always helpful, I think, if you've got a bit of a toolkit of things that you can turn to that will help you with your manifestation journey. When I talk about a toolkit, I'm not talking about material things. There are lots of things that people recommend that will help them, and everybody's a bit different with this. A lot of people really love using vision boards. Other people believe in the ability of certain crystals and herbs and things to help amplify intentions. And if you have listened to some of my previous episodes, you'll know that I have used affirmations along with mala beads before to help focus my intentions. I don't believe that you need to spend a lot of money on physical things to help you manifest your desires. A lot of what makes manifestation happen, a lot of what helps you to create your desires and attract the life that you want, really comes from inside of you. Again, like I said, manifestation is that ability to create or attract into your life, into your reality, through things like your beliefs, your feelings, your thoughts. So those are all things very, very internal. And so that's why Alchemy for Authors, this podcast, talks a lot about mindset, as that is so essential. And then, of course, like I said, taking action. Manifestation also, in my mind, is about making yourself an energetic match for what you desire. So it is a lot of like attracts like. What we put out into the world, we tend to attract back to us. And I don't want to go into all the nuances of this, and there are hundreds of arguments that people can come up against this as well. From my experience, at the very gist and as a very broad generalization, it is becoming an energetic match for what you want to bring into your life and create for yourself. I came across this very cool quote, and it's supposedly said by Albert Einstein. I don't really have too much to back that up, so it's possible it is, it's possible it's not, but it is a cool quote, and it kind of goes along with this. It says that everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get into that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. And what's really cool about this idea of like attracting like and making ourselves an energetic match to the things that we desire to create them in our worlds, in our lives, science is starting to back this up in a lot of ways, particularly in the field, of course, of quantum physics. But it is something that you can certainly explore a little bit further on your own, or maybe in the future I'll do some more podcasts with a little bit more of a scientific background to all of this as well. But right now, what my focus really is sharing with you my top 8 manifestation must-haves. They're really, really simple, really, really basic, common sense, really, if you've ever spent any time in law of attraction or manifestation. But I thought I will share them with you anyway, whether you're a beginner at manifesting or been dabbling in this world for a long time. Maybe there'll be one of those wonderful aha moments for you where something just resonates and you get some good takeaways from this. So I am going to start off with number 1. This isn't really in any specific order, other than I guess I do find number 1 most important in this respect. My top manifestation must-have is getting really clear on what I want. This is probably the hardest part of manifestation for me, which is getting really clear on what it is that I want, because I can be so indecisive, I can be so wishy-washy, I can change my mind, and that is when any attempt at manifestation tends to fall flat. So my recommendation is, if you're wanting to up-level your writing life, your author life, your finances, your anything, any aspect of your life, and you're looking at using manifestation to help the process along, get really clear on what it is you want. Sometimes we can do that just by thinking about all the things that we don't want, the things that we complain about, the things that we resist are sometimes good indicators of what it is we do want if we just flip those around and look at their opposites. And along with getting really clear on what we do want, I think it's also really important that we think about why we want that. Because sometimes we can get caught up with I want to be a millionaire author. But then when we consider what our why is, it's not that we actually want to be earning millions of dollars with our books. Maybe it's just that we want the freedom to be able to write when we want without being tied down by a day job, for example. So manifesting that an income from our writing that supports us so that we don't need secondary income, the actions that we take towards that might be quite a bit different than actions towards being a millionaire author. Also, getting really, really clear on our why usually connects us with our deepest values. And once we know our deepest values of why we're wanting to do something, why we desire something, then that in itself creates momentum and keeps us motivated. There's something to be said about aligning our values and our inner desires with what we're creating. So that is my number one. Don't be wishy-washy. Get really clear on what you want. Add as many details as you can. Saying that, my recommendation is also not to be too pedantic with having every detail mapped out, because sometimes we don't actually know what is for our highest good, what is the thing that we actually need more. So we want a little bit of room for movement within our desires as well. But as much as we can, do get clear on what it is you want and why you want it. Number 2. This is a fun one. I've got a couple of these manifestation must-haves that to me are really fun, and that is having a gratitude journal. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard about gratitude journals, and if you've been listening to this podcast, it's not the first time that it's come up, but adopting an attitude of gratitude gets you so far towards shifting your mindset in a way that will align you with the things that you actually want. When we can show appreciation for the things that we've already got, when we're trying to manifest something else, we're coming from that sense of abundance already. We're coming from that sense that life is good. We already have good stuff. We lose a little bit of that desperation, which can actually work against us when we're trying to manifest something. So I highly recommend having a gratitude journal or some kind of gratitude practice. I love gratitude journals because I'm a bit of a stationery junkie, and any excuse to go buy a pretty little journal or notebook and a fancy pen, I'm all for it. And I do adopt quite a bit of reverence when I use a gratitude journal, and that I don't just go for any journal. I do try and make it special and specific for writing down the things that I am grateful for. And same with the pen that I use. I'm a little bit particular with it. I've got this beautiful purple fountain pen that, I don't know, there's something just about the ritual of it that when I'm sitting there, usually I would do a gratitude practice before going to sleep, and I'll pull out my pretty journal and my fancy pen. And even if I just write 3 things that I am grateful for in the day, often, to be honest with you, I write a lot more than 3. I think it's also really good if we try and focus too on some of the things that we're grateful for around those things that are actually a bit tricky for us. So again, I'm going to use the example that maybe you're dependent upon a day job for your income while you're trying to create a author business on the side. And I know all too well how easy it is to go down that horrible resentment tunnel of thinking that in some ways your day job, which you spend so much time at, is holding you back from having that author life that you really desire. And so if you can find things that you're grateful for about the situation that you're in now, that your day job provides, the income to buy the covers for your book, or the editing, or the human interactions and experiences that help color your characters that you create on the page that you don't get from just sitting at your desk in your office all day. Being grateful and noticing those things, those wonderful treasures in the mundane, is such a good way to shift your energy and bring yourself more into alignment with what it is that you desire, because it is so much easier for us to create when we are in that higher energy, that higher level of emotion and feeling. Again, if everything is energy and we're wanting to create this really elevated, positive, happy, joyful life for ourselves, then in doing so, we need to try and put ourselves into that energy as much as possible. And gratitude is a great way to shift our mindset, make us pay more attention to the gifts that are already in our lives, and help propel us faster into creating our desires. So that is my number 2. Have a gratitude practice, or in my case, a gratitude journal and fancy pen. Number 3. This is a goodie, and it's one that I have done since I was a child, and pretty much anybody in the sphere of mindset or manifestation will mention this one, but that is affirmations. Get yourself some cool-ass affirmations. Ones that you just feel on a deep level, ones that just kick you in the butt and make you feel good, ones that are aligned with what you're trying to create for yourself. And so it's quite often when we do create affirmations, they feel a little bit like we're just telling lies to ourselves, and they feel a bit uncomfortable. And that's perfectly normal. Affirmations work best with repetition. It's a way of changing our self-talk, replacing some of that negative self-talk that I think we're all guilty of, and replacing it with words and mantras that elevate our beliefs and our emotions to better fit and better align with what we're trying to achieve. And so I've done everything from having affirmations like, "It is so easy to write this book," or "I am a best-selling author," or "I have written 90,000 words in 3 months," or anything like that. They do work. They honestly do work. And it is something that you probably need to try for yourself. And I've always used affirmations along with lots of other tools as well, but simply for its ability to help change your mindset and help change up that negative self-chatter that we quite often forfeit to. They're invaluable. So that's number 3 of my manifestation must-haves. Have some really good affirmations up your sleeve that you can call on and use them regularly. Say them regularly, have them somewhere where you might be able to see them, on your bathroom mirror, on your dashboard in your car. I've had them there before. Wherever it is, so that you can have reminders throughout the entire day of your affirmations that are aligned with what you're trying to create. Number 4, and this kind of goes along with the affirmations, and I've used this quite a bit, but things like pictures or symbols, anything that will help me keep my goals at the forefront. Some people will use vision boards to do this, create a collection of pictures that represent the reality or the life they want to achieve or create for themselves. I'm usually a little bit more subtle with that, mainly because I would create a vision board and it's so very fun at the time, and then I would put it somewhere and probably not look at it again. In fact, I have done that in the past. So for me, it's things like almost every year I purchase a My Intent bracelet, and I usually just order it online and I'll put the link in the show notes. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. I just think they're really cool. And they're just small little disc bracelets where you get a word engraved on them. And then I usually just wear it on my wrist, right by my watch, so I get to see that word every day to remind me of what I am working on. When I was starting my author career, I think I had the word create engraved on the bracelet to remind myself that I'm a creator. I've had manifest to remind myself to practice my manifestation. I have just used different words depending upon what I'm focused on for the year ahead. Haven't thought of my word for next year yet, so I'll be doing that shortly. But having a goal written on a small piece of jewelry, and they're not terribly expensive at all, and having that on me all the time is just that great reminder to keep focused on what I'm trying to achieve. I've also, when I went through a really rocky period at my day job and was just starting out as an author, I was finding that I wasn't doing much writing because a bit of negativity at my day job was really bringing me down. I printed out cover of one of my books, or my very first book, and actually blue tacked it to the dashboard of my car so that I'd see it out of the corner of my eye on my commute home every day and my commute to the workplace, just reminding me what I was working towards. And I found that really beneficial. It reminded me of where I was headed, the author that I wanted to be, rather than being stuck in the negative loop of where I was right at that moment. And so that really helped. So having pictures or symbols, it might be something that represents your goals on the lock screen of your phone. It could be small pictures on Post-it notes next to your computer. It could be, like I said, a special piece of jewelry. Anything that just reminds you along the way of the future you're striving towards, the goals that you're working towards, the things that you want to create for yourself. Number 5. Oh, this is one of my favorites too. I love this one. And this will be a little bit different for different people, but my number 5 top manifestation must-have is music. Oh my gosh, I love music. And I know this is an unusual one, music helping with manifestation, but it really does. And you can use this in so many different ways. I've heard of people making abundance playlists with songs about money and abundance and that, and listening to that often to try and get that feel for attracting more money and abundance into their life. I use it in a slightly different way. I actually use music to change my vibe. So what I mean by that is if I am in a funk and in a bad mood or had a bad day or whatever, now that's not going to be conducive to manifesting or creating anything positive. And so I need to elevate my mood and get out of my head a bit and change my energy ASAP. And anything that gives a dopamine hit can really help with that a little bit. But I find music works the fastest for me. I love music. I love dancing. I love singing. I'm not good at any of those. But if I need a pick-me-up, then I put on some tunes and I dance and I sing at the top of my lungs and I just go for it, because I can guarantee that the right music can change my vibe so fast. And once I've changed my vibe and I've elevated my energy, it is so much easier to then refocus on what it is that I want to bring into my life. Refocus on the positives, be a little bit more grateful, and all that good stuff. So music is one of my manifestation must-haves. Number 6, curate a circle of people who encourage and inspire you. This is so important, and it doesn't really have to be a lot of people, but you need somebody cheering you on, somebody that's got your back and somebody that believes in you. Ideally, it would be people in your immediate circle. It would be friends and family and the likes, but we all have different situations, and that's not always the case. So even if it means curating your social media so that only high vibe people are connected with you on social media, the podcasts that you listen to are all positive and happy and inspiring and talk about the things that you want to create. Those are the types of things that you need to do. Being an author or a writer can often be quite solitary, and we all jump on the struggle train at times of imposter syndrome and doubting our abilities and all of that. But if we have people around us in some aspect or another whom are either living the lives that we desire for ourselves, or who inspire us, or who cheer us along, then it is going to make things so much easier than doing this on our own. People really do need people. We need people. I'm the world's biggest introvert, and even I know that I need people. And so I'm pretty lucky in that as much as possible, The people that I surround myself with, my friends and that, are encouraging. They believe in me and believe that I can achieve my dreams. They let me blab on, or at least have a couple that let me blab on about manifestation and all of that, and are supportive and encouraging, and I can give the same back to them if they're similar minded as well, and creating their own amazing lives through the law of attraction and manifestation. I also try to be really particular about my social media feed. I follow lots of accounts that belong to amazing authors who I have a lot of respect for, or people who are living the life that I want to create for myself, or people that are just generally really uplifting and positive and inspiring. Having that come across your social media feed rather than a lot of the ugliness that can sometimes be there is a good use, I think, of social media. Like, if you're going to have it in your life, if you're going to use it for marketing or any other purposes in your author life, then do try and curate your feed to elevate your energy rather than pull it down. Number 7 of my manifestation must-haves. This is an unusual one, but what it is you need the ability to make space. You need to make space in your life for whatever it is that you are trying to create. If you're maybe setting out to write your very first book, then you're going to need to make sure that you have got space in your life to do that. And that might look like having time carved into your day away from other responsibilities so that you can sit down and write. It might look like having a physical space in your house to do the writing. If you're trying to attract a particular opportunity in your life, make sure that you actually have space in your life for that opportunity if it was to arrive. So this is a bit of an unusual one, but I've always thought of it as when you make space for something, you're kind of letting go and you're showing the universe or whatever you believe in that you actually trust that whatever you're trying to manifest is going to happen. That you've actually moved past the believing and the hoping to actually knowing that whatever you've been wanting is on its way to you, so therefore you're making room for it. I can give you a couple of examples of this. One goes back all the way to before I started dating my husband, and I'd been in a few relationships and I took quite a bit of a break. And then when I was ready again to be in a healthy relationship, I decided to really make space for that to happen. And so for me, that looked like making sure that I had room in my life for another person, that I wasn't so flat tack busy that I wouldn't be able to fit them in, even if they were in my life. And I also did things like ensuring that there was space in my bed as well. So what that looked like was making sure that there was 2 sets of pillows, that I didn't just hog the entire bed, that I was sending all those signals out to the universe that there was room for somebody else in my life. Another more recent version of me trying to make space for something that I was trying to manifest was actually when I was ready to leave the job I was in. And I had already made up my mind that I really, really wanted to get out, but I wasn't in the financial situation or brave enough to leave without having another job lined up. But what I did do, and I am quite surprised that this went relatively unnoticed, but when I had given myself a deadline to be out of that job, I cleared out all my belongings, or as much as possible of my belongings that I'd accumulated over the years, well in advance of that deadline, to show that I was serious. I was not coming back to this job, so the universe better open a door to something better. And so I pretty much had it was a room that I had, or office or whatnot, and I had that completely cleared out before I even had the interview for an amazing job that I got right day of the deadline that I set for myself. And what was really cool is the deadline that I set for myself, that day I had the interview, by the end of that day, I was offered the job. I didn't even need to go back to my original job to clear out anything because I'd already done that beforehand. So when I gave my resignation in over the phone and then via email, I didn't ever have to go back to that workplace again, which was amazing. So it is about having that real deep trust that what you're trying to manifest is going to happen. And part of doing that is by physically showing that in some way, by making space, whether it's making time for whatever it is you're trying to attract, allowing those opportunities, space in your life, or physically even clearing out your space. If you're wanting a row of best-selling books on your bookcase that you have written, clear out some space on that bookcase for those books. It tells the universe, it tells whatever you believe in, it tells yourself in some really deep soul level that you are serious about what you intend to create for yourself. All right. And number 8 of my manifestation must-haves. This is a tricky one, but must have it. And that is courage. I tried to think of a different word than courage for this, but this is what comes to mind for me. For you, it might be something completely different. But courage, to me, means being able to step outside my comfort zone and to take action towards those things that I want to create for myself. It is so easy to live small, to hold ourselves back, to be victims to our imposter syndrome, to our comparisonitis, to that negative self-talk that we're not good enough, that we're not deserving, that we're just not enough. Stepping through that, stepping past that, taking action, that requires a certain amount of gall. That requires some bravery. Remember, being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It just means that you're scared, but you do it anyway, whatever needs to be done. And like I said at the very beginning of this episode, I do believe that taking action is one of the most important aspects of manifestation, but it does often require courage. So once we've got really, really clear on what we're wanting to create for ourselves, what we're trying to manifest for ourselves, then we need to ensure that we can push through any of those barriers and that resistance that might pop up, to take those steps, to action it, to give it a possibility of being, to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, to be open to failing, because that's okay. And quite often what we see as a fail is not, it's just a redirection into something even better for us. So those are my personal top 8 manifestation must-haves. Getting clear on what we want and why we want it. Adopting an attitude of gratitude. Using affirmations to change our mindset and our beliefs. Using pictures and symbols or anything that's going to help keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Using things like music or whatever really inspires you to change your vibe up fast if you find that your energy is not as elevated as it needs to be, not as happy or as positive or as joyous as it needs to be. Making sure that you surround yourself with positive, encouraging, supportive people, both physically and virtually if possible. Making space for what it is that we're trying to manifest, that we want to create for ourselves, the lives that we want, making space for that. And then finally, having the courage to take action. So I know manifestation is a very individual thing, and how people go about manifesting things can be quite different too. But I really just wanted to share with you some of the things that are so important to me when it comes to focusing on new goals that I will be using myself as we move into 2023 and I start the process of setting new goals and changing things up a little bit. And maybe there's some things on there too that have got you thinking that you might want to adopt. Yeah. So I would love to hear any of your manifestation must-haves or your manifestation practices, or what has worked for you in the past or the present, and what you're wanting to manifest for yourself in regards to your writing life and your author career as we move forward into a new year. So do feel free to reach out to me. I am on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is my primary location there. And I do have 2 accounts. I have my main author account, which is at Joe Buer Author. And I have a relatively new account, which is just at Alchemy for Authors. So you can reach out to me through either of those. You can also join my newsletter, which is on my website, the Alchemy for Authors newsletter, and be kept in the loop of different episodes and everything like that, and contact me through my email there as well. So you can check out everything, including my actual fiction books as well, on my website, which is joebuer.com. And of course, if you've enjoyed this episode or any of my episodes of Alchemy for Authors, I always appreciate if you're able to leave a star rating or a review on whatever platform you're listening to this to, or alternatively, tag me in a post on Instagram or Facebook of you listening to this episode. That would just be amazing as well. And if you're wanting to even go further with supporting this podcast, you can now buy me a coffee just at buymeacoffee.com/Joe Buer, and I'll put that link in the show notes too. And all these things just help me keep this podcast going. And so your support in whatever form it takes always means the absolute world to me. And you are most definitely part of my list of things that I am grateful for in my gratitude journal. So thank you so much for listening again to this episode, my friends. And as always, I am going to wish you a wonderful writing week ahead, and I will see you again next week.